and a very senior member of our movement and an author of many books. So very happy that he's here and he's agreed to give a class today. Maharaj will be here just for one more day. I think he's leaving tomorrow for Hungary. Sivarama Swami Maharaj ki.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivanadhari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivanadhari. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Parvikacharya Astatarasata Srimad Avecharana Arvinda Bhaktivinoda Gosai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Pacha Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Gosai Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatam Bhattu Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Sarvanath Sadgo Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prems Ghosh Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Radha Krishna Gop Govinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Shivara Partha Sarthi Ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the Samo devotees. All glories to the Samo devotees. All glories to the Samo devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're just reading, speaking straight and simultaneous translation is taking place back there. This is Maharaj Prithu becomes angry at the earth, and text 28. Evam manyumayim murtim Kritantamiva bibratam Pranata pranjali praha Mahisanjata vepatu Evam manyumayim murtim Kritantam eva bibratam Pranata pranjali praha Mahisanjata vepatu Mahisanjata vepatu Evam, thus, Manyumayim, very much angry, Murtim, form, Krita Antam, death personified, Yamaraj, Iva, like, Bibratam, possessing, Pranata, surrendered, Pranjali, with folded hands. Raha, said. Mahi, the planet Earth. Sanjata, arisen. Vepatu, trembling in her body. At this time, Prithu Maharaj became exactly like Yamaraj, and his whole body appeared very angry. In other words, he was anger personified. After hearing him, the planet Earth began to tremble. She surrendered, and with folded hands began to speak as follows. Please repeat. At this time, Prithu Maharaj became exactly like Yamaraj, and his whole body appeared very angry. In other words, he was anger personified. After hearing him, the planet Earth began to tremble. She surrendered, and with folded hands began to speak as follows. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is death personified to miscreants, and the Supreme Beloved Lord to the devotees. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mrityu Sarvaharashchaham, I am all-devouring death. Faithless believers who challenge the appearance of God will be delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead when He appears before them as death. Hiranyakashipu, for example, challenged the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord met him in the form of Nrsingadev and killed him. Similarly, the planet Earth saw Maharaj Prithu as death personified, and she also saw him in the mood of anger personified. Therefore, she began to tremble. One cannot challenge the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in any circumstance. It is better to surrender unto Him and take His protection at all times. That's it. I'll try and speak a little slowly so you can do the translation at the same time. Om Jnana Timiran. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. When I was looking at this verse last night, not one specific topic came in mind, which crops up in different places throughout not only the Lord's Leela, but we also see in Krishna's teachings. And that is how, as in this case, Prithu Maharaj can become anger personified, or how he can even be angry. Of course, everyone is a person, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original person. So, no question that he cannot become angry. But as here, Prabhupada translates that he's not only angry, but he became anger personified. Just like we see Lord Nrsingadev is Krishna's form of anger personified. Nonetheless, there are other statements wherein, for instance, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Samaham sarvabhuteshu, and I'm equally disposed to everyone. What to speak of that Krishna is equally disposed to everyone, but he gives advice to Arjuna that one should be equally disposed. Stitadir muni ruchyate, that one should be a stitadi muni. Being equiposed and being angry are contrary qualities. And of course, that's not a problem for us, because sometimes we get angry, and after we get angry, then we calm down and we become equiposed, or we become happy. Or sometimes we're sad, and then again, later on, we become happy. But here, Krishna is a little different. And the difference is that Krishna is both angry and equiposed at the same time. And those are things that don't really quite balance out, because they're contrary things that are taking place simultaneously. And of course, you know, this is the basis of our Krishna consciousness philosophy, is that the only way that you can actually define the absolute truth in its complexity and in its totality is that you accept that it is Beda Beda. That simultaneously there are It is one and different. Of course, that's one aspect. Or here you can say, simultaneously, the absolute truth is angry and he's not angry. Simultaneously, he's limited and he's not limited. Simultaneously, he's big and he's very small. The children are very small. And then when they grow up, they become big. They're not big and small at the same time. So how is it that this actually takes place? And of course, there are many other things. Krishna begins the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Mayata tamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. He says, I'm everywhere, but I'm not everywhere. It's not just some kind of Zen aphorism that Krishna is speaking. Of course, Krishna doesn't speak Zen aphorisms, but it's something that actually makes philosophical and logical sense. He has to be everywhere, because ultimately he is everything. Mata parataram na anya. So Krishna is everything, in that everything is made of his transcendental potencies, and yet at the same time he is a person. He's different. He's somewhere else. So he's all-pervading, and he's also localized at the same time. So this is, for instance, in Nyaya, in logic. Nyaya is one of the branches of philosophy. So in Nyaya, there are 5 different steps. For instance, Vedanta Sutra arguments are always argued in 5 different steps. First there is the Vishay, and there's the Samshay, and the Purva Paksha, then there's Siddhanta, and ultimately there is Sangati. So Vishay is this. This is our Vishay. Vishay is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has contrary characteristics, does contrary things simultaneously, and then the only way, of course, you can understand that is that it's achintya. And in other words, you can't understand it. Can't understand it because we happen to be very small, which sometimes is very embarrassing and humiliating. And of course, the whole modern world wants to function on the basis that ultimately we can understand everything, and because we can understand everything, we can do anything. Which is a nice premise, but it's a faith. You could just as easily start off with our premise, is that you can't understand everything. And Krishna says like that. He says, Nasura, not the demigods, not the demons, no one can understand me. That's another beginning point. And of course, there is, to this Vishay, to this statement, people will say, but this is not something that you see within nature. In other words, it doesn't have a universally applicable principle. These type of arguments Jiva Goswami describes very extensively in his different writings or commentaries. So that's their samshaya. Their samshaya is that no, what you may see is sometimes, for instance, you may see that someone is angry and someone is equiposed, but you can't have someone either both angry and equiposed at the same time. Or, as in the Bhagavad Gita statement, Mayata tamidam sarvam jagatav, Krishna can be both limited and unlimited. We see the picture of Mother Yashoda trying to tie down Krishna. So, she's got her arm around Krishna. In other words, Krishna's limited within the dimensions of her arm, but she can't get the rope around Krishna. In other words, he's already limited by the size of her arms. He's got her sitting in her lap. She's sitting in her lap, so he's limited, but simultaneously, the rope doesn't meet. He's unlimited. And the demigods who are watching, they're completely bewildered. How can you be limited and unlimited at the same time? And of course, this is where you get, for instance, monism and dualism and different variations of monistic and dualistic philosophy arise, is that they have this samshai, vishai, purva paksha. They raise this argument that, all right, according to the universality of things, something can be either it's limited or it's unlimited, and one of the two has to dominate. There has to be either oneness or there has to be difference. So Mayavad philosophy means that there's just oneness, and the oneness supersedes over the difference. And of course, it's an impractical philosophy. We're not having prasadam after Bhagavatam class. We're going to cut up this tablecloth, and everyone's going to eat the tablecloth because it's all one. So what's the difference whether you eat sabji or whether you eat a tablecloth? So you can't practice it. It's meaningless. And even dualism and theistic dualism, even the dualism of Madhvacharya and so on, even that can't completely describe the absolute truth because it's not just different. There is also a oneness. And Jiva Goswami points it out that because of this, no philosophy can actually really properly describe the absolute truth. And so they keep bringing up all kinds of arguments, and there's argument and counter-argument and so on. So the Siddhanta of Vaishnavas is Achinta Beda Beda Tattva. Or whether it's Beda Beda, or here, whether he's angry and equiposed, but he simultaneously. That's very far out. That something is unlimited. He's like Mahavishnu, at the same time he's Shirodakshai Vishnu. He's inside every atom. You know, in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma, who understands this, he makes the statement. He says, Andantarastu paramanu chayantarastam govindamadi purusham. So he says that here is Govinda, and he is present within every atom. Every universe, along with every one of its atoms, is present within him, but simultaneously he's present in every one of those atoms. And within every one of those atoms is all the universes, along with each of their atoms, and it just goes on ad infinitum. In other words, he also has, as Shastra says, he has no inside and he has no outside. He has no top, he has no bottom. Krishna looks the same from inside, if you can get to his inside, as he does what we call outside. Our conceptions of someone being bounded, and it's our limited conditioning that give us this type of perception. But there's no difference between Krishna's inside and outside. So Shastra says, Dehi, Deha, Vivegyoyam. There's no difference between Krishna's inside and outside. He looks the same from within as he does from without. And when Mother Yashoda looked into Krishna's mouth, what did she see? She saw the universe, she saw herself, she saw Krishna. In other words, Krishna's inside of himself. So these things are bewildering. And they're bewildering because we're insignificant. Anoraniyan Mahato Mahayan. We're smaller than the smallest. Well, we're small, and then he's smaller than the smallest. So we're very, very small, we're very insignificant. And so how is it that these things even take place? First of all, the question happened, how is it that these simultaneously contradictory things are going on? And Scripture then answers, because he has this inconceivable potencies. He has potencies that allow him to do anything. Things that may appear even to be contradictory, and they become resolved in him. In other words, he can be simultaneously very great and very small. He can be crying, he can be happy. Because when, for instance here, Prithu Maharaj is angry, or if Nrsingadev is angry, what's that to say for the rest of the universe, or the rest of the universes? Does that mean that all of a sudden everyone is just feeling Nrsingadev's roar and hearing his roar, just like Hiranyakashipu did, or the demigods who were witnessing that scene? No, for everyone else, there, and in some other places, Krishna is appearing in another form. And Lord Ramachandra, very equiposed, very kind, he's simultaneously doing all of these things. And Ramadimurti Shukala, aside from Lord Ramachandra, then there are still unlimited incarnations, and they're all playing their very different roles, not just in the creation, but also in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world. He's everywhere, and they're not a performance. For instance, this objection sometimes arises that, all right, say for instance that when Mother Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna, that Krishna is actually unlimited, but he's appearing to be limited. In other words, that the reality is that Krishna is unlimited, and Krishna's limitedness, that he's sitting in Mother Yashoda's lap, it just appears like that. But of course that's not a very good thing, because then that would mean that Krishna's Leela is just some kind of illusion. It's not real. It's not really taking place. It's a contradictory thing to the fact that Jejatamam Prapadyante, Krishna in reality reciprocates with the love and affection of his devotees. So it isn't that Krishna is unlimited, he's somewhere and he's just projecting this hologram of himself in Mother Yashoda's lap. No, he's actually fully there. Achintya Guna Swarupam, with all of his unlimited potencies, he's sitting in her lap, and at the same time, he's also unlimited. Or from the other perspective, that we'll say he's limited, but the illusion is that he's unlimited. And of course, then that Krishna is no longer God. If he's not unlimited, how can he be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So neither of those things are satisfactory. It's not just some kind of show. So for instance, Krishna's absorption, when we see Lord Ramachandra is there and he's thinking, Lakshman is going to die. Lakshman is in a coma. He's not pretending to be in a coma. He is in a coma. How can he be in a coma? If he was in a coma and he's Shankarshan and all the universes are in him, what happens to everybody else? Does everyone else fall into a coma? But he's in a coma. So it's going on. It's a reality. He's not playing a drama. Also, there's nothing going on. I have to pretend that I'm in a coma, but actually for the welfare of the universes and everyone else, I have to be conscious of going on. No, he's unconscious. And Lord Ramachandra is thinking, if Hanuman doesn't get here in time, he's going to die. He's not pretending. I have to put on this show because this is part of the Ramayana. Just like when devotees play the Ramayana, then the actors are playing the Ramayana. So as Lord Ramachandra, I'm playing Ram, so therefore I have to put on like I'm distressed. No, he is distressed. So what happens when Lord Ramachandra is distressed? What about all the other people somewhere else who are worshipping Lord Ramachandra? What about the prayers that they're offering? Are they being heard or not heard? Lord Ramachandra, he's not hearing anything or anybody. All he wants to know is, yes, Hanuman is coming. No. Simultaneously, he's also reciprocating with everyone's devotion, with their prayers, with their mantras, and for those who are very advanced, he's appearing before them in a very loving and peaceful form, while at the same time he's completely distressed in this particular situation. So these are, Vedanta Sutra says, Tarka Patishtanat. These are only possible by the Lord's inconceivable potencies. He has potencies that boggle the mind, because our mind is very small, so it's very easy to boggle our minds. But these things boggle our minds. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he's talking to Prakashananda Saraswati, he says, why do you doubt the inconceivable potency of the Lord? He says there are material objects. He gives a Chintamani stone. You know, there's two types of Chintamani. There's Chintamani on the heavenly planet, and Chintamani Pakarasadmashu, and there's Chintamani on the spiritual world. Chintamani on the heavenly planet, Prabhupada says you touch it to anything and it turns into gold. Because that's what everyone's interested in the heavenly planets. In the spiritual world, the touchstone gives you not just gold, it gives you anything. It gives you love for Krishna, it manifests Krishna, so many things. But he says you take this object, this stone, and it has these inconceivable potencies. How does it transform something to gold? And it doesn't become gold. It stays what it is. So if material objects have this Achintya Shakti, and many times we see Srila Prabhupada he talks about a cow. He says, you eat grass, and you turn it into milk. He says, why can't you do it? Because the cow has some specific type of inconceivable potency that it takes the thing that no one can do anything with, and that's grass. In other words, it's more or less the most unusable, unnecessary thing, and you turn it into the most valuable thing, which is really the basis of Dharma, milk. How? He has inconceivable potency. Now Krishna has unlimited inconceivable potencies. A cow only has one, well, he has a few inconceivable potencies. One is that he turns everything into, he can turn, not everything, but he turns grass into milk, although nowadays, unfortunately, the cows are eating everything, right? They're eating garbage bags, they're eating plastic bags, they're eating so many things. So you can imagine what kind of milk it comes from that. And then, except for their mouth, all other parts of their body are completely pure. They are the residents of the demigods. And Prabhupada then gives an example. Just take a tree, any fruit tree. It creates a specific type of fruit. It doesn't create any type of fruit, but one type of fruit. You create a fruit. You can't create any fruits. Scientists don't create fruits, but trees do. They have some mystic potency. Who gave him the mystic potency? Krishna gave him that mystic potency. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was with his associates and they wanted mangoes, and it was not mango season. So he just stuck a mango seed into the ground, and all of a sudden mango tree grew, and immediately the mangoes came. Why? Because aham sarvasya prabhava. Because all of these potencies originally come. They come from the Lord. So the Lord has these inconceivable potencies, and by these inconceivable potencies that then what appears to be very non-orthodox, non-universal, extraordinary things are taking place simultaneously at the same time. How can we understand it? No. Anyway, Vedanta Sutra says, no, you have to understand this just through the statements of Scripture. Why? Because we're limited by what we can understand. And so this becomes, as Srila Prabhupada would often say, that ultimately you cannot really understand God unless you accept His inconceivable potencies and the fact that our understanding will always be limited as to how things take place. So here is Prithu Maharaj. He's going to be saying later on in the next verse, or earlier verse, pardon, he says, nonetheless, I shall cut you into small pieces like a grain, and I will uphold the entire population by my personal mystic powers. Because the earth planet was not willing to do its duty. So yes, he's angry, and he's peaceful, and he's here, and he's there. We're singing that, to nishingo, parato nishingo, yato, yato, yamitato nishingo. Do we really often think about what we're saying, that he's here, he's there, he's everywhere? What does it mean? It means that yes, he is. He's here personally in his form, and at the same time he's within every atom, he's within the pillar, he's outside the pillar. So he's extraordinary. And so Achinta Bheda Bheda. Simultaneously, everything is one with him, and everything is different from him. He's limited, he's unlimited, his inside, outside. That just reminded me of another example. You know what a Mobius strip is? Everyone have a Mobius strip. Anyone have a piece of paper here? Just any piece, yeah. Well, that's a small piece of paper, but you take this paper, you twist it once, and you tie, well, you have to do it on a bigger one. The two together. This is the outside. Go along the outside. The outside becomes the inside. Go from the inside becomes the outside. So here's just a piece of paper. It has no inside, no outside. And it has both outside and inside. And it's just a piece of paper. So if you can do this with a piece of paper, what about God? So he also has no inside and no outside. But at the same time, he has both inside and outside. So for these things, we offer our pranam to Krishna, and our respects to him as the Supreme Being, who resolves all of these extraordinary, who has all of these extraordinary qualities, and all we can say is that he's wonderful. And of course, in the ultimate issue, we see here he is, Prithu Maharaj is ready to punish the earth, very, very angry. But then she says, yes, but you remain in your transcendental position. But his anger is different than our anger. Nrsingadev's anger is different than our anger. It's very difficult for us to remain spiritually situated, equiposed, and be angry. But for them, anger, laughter, sorrow, happiness, it's all expressions of the same transcendental or spiritual emotion. So when one gentleman once sort of chided Srila Prabhupada, "Oh Swamiji, you should not get angry. Angry is not the characteristic of a sadhu." This is not our idea that a sadhu, he's just always shanti, shanti, shanti. That shanti is not even really transcendental. At best it's spiritual. But the Shanta Bhaktas don't really rate in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's perception of spiritualists or transcendentalists, even if they have love. No, but there has to be variegatedness, and because Krishna has created things in such wonderfully variegated ways. And ultimately everything that you see, both black and white and big and small, everything finds its shelter in him. Therefore, all of those things are situated within him. And that then becomes the essence of our philosophical perception of Krishna. Anyway, I'll stop there. Anyone like to comment or ask any questions? Maharaj?
Hare Krishna.
I have two questions. Milk and straw, from the most insignificant thing to the most wonderful thing. I mean, that is just fantastic. That's going to stay with me. And the Mobius strip is going to stay with me. But, brain is gone. What's this? Well, several questions. But this is the only one I can read. The only one I can read is, you were saying, but, you know, who has given, you were talking about the tree, how a tree produces different fruits and this and that. And Krishna has given that potency. Well, why given? We know it's all chemical. We know how it all fits together. You know, it's just it's a process. It's nature's process. Okay. It's the inevitable laws. Why do you have to personify it with given?
Well, that's a very good argument. But if you have that conclusion, first you have to show me the experiment of how you got to that conclusion. But unless you have the experiment, have you put together chemicals to produce a mango-giving tree, and you have no argument. You don't know. You don't know anything. No, you don't know the principle. That's faith. You have this faith. And you're objecting because I have a different faith. Well, that's your faith, that's not knowledge. Knowledge means you performed that experiment. And you don't have that knowledge. So you have a faith that everything comes, manifests in a reduction, or you can reduce everything and everything comes from material elements. But until you prove it, it's not science. Yeah. And I'll give you an experiment to do it. You chant Hare Krishna, you come live with us, and you see the origin of everything. Then you can see how God creates. But you have to be willing to do this experiment, and it'll take you a whole lifetime. But in the meantime, you're saying, oh, no, I don't want to do that. But in the meantime, you've invested your whole life in another faith that actually has not even an experiment. You stand on giants. Well, I thought you were saying we stand. We stand on the shoulder of giants. Those people who say, you don't see God, but I see God. You don't see Him create, but I see Him create. So, but what are the giants? Your giants haven't created a mango yet. They've figured out, maybe they've figured out, and they haven't really figured out how even atoms function or what they are, but some characteristics, because they won't. As Krishna says, that even this material world is endlessly mutable. So you're never really going to find out what an atom is. And you don't know the smallest thing, even the building block. Go ahead, Maharaj. There's your microphone. He wanted to hear you.
So, now I forgot it again. I'm not in the best of health. You said, and I think it was a very nice sutra, that because we think we know everything, we think we can do everything. But because we don't, but for the Vaishnava, we don't know everything, we accept our position. Do you want to expand on that at all? But you were saying because we think we know everything, therefore we can do anything and everything. So what was the impetus behind that thought?
Because that's really the empiric faith, isn't it? The empiricist's faith is that we actually have the faculty to understand the world around us, what to speak of the creation. But that's just a postulate. I could just as easily start off by saying, you can never understand the world around you. And up to now, you've proven that you haven't understood the world around you, because you're continually reinventing, continually reinventing your theories of how the most basic fundamental things are taking place. So, and then of course, because you think that you understand everything, then you think, well, we're going to be able to control nature, and we're going to do this, and so on. And in the meantime, the ice caps are melting, and we're going to be drowning pretty soon, and Delhi's going to be, a seaside resort. It's a good thing we're on top of a hill over here. And despite all of this, it's like, going down with the scissors. Science is failing, we're destroying the world, we have nothing to eat, we don't have any more water, we've destroyed the environment, people are starving, although we're striving for sustainable development, which is another fairy tale. Everything, we're killing each other by the tens of thousands, by the millions. More people have died since the Second World War than both in the First and Second War put together. And as Prabhupada said, the UN is useless. What's it achieved? Some of there's wars going on all around us, and in the meantime, we're thinking that we have a solution to nice, peaceful life and how we're going to control everything. Of course, you don't have to talk about war. All you have to do is go outside in Delhi during the traffic rush, which is going on all the time, and then we're not in control. What a mess. What a mess we're making of this world. Here's a question. How can we imbibe this Prithu Maharaj instruction? Prabhupada told in his later pastime, boiling our milk. How can we imbibe this Prithu Maharaj instruction? Which instruction? Oh, that Prabhupada told in his later pastime, boiling our milk. Well, I'll just answer the last part. That's the part I can understand here. Prabhupada wanted us to boil the milk. Prabhupada wanted us to be Krishna conscious. He didn't want us to just be presenting Krishna consciousness, talking about it like a advertising agency. Here's some good product that everyone should buy. It's better than anybody else's product. But we should actually be displaying that product, which means that Prabhupada wanted all of his followers to become pure devotees, sadhus, so that people can see here is the theory and here's the reality. And of course that means taking Krishna consciousness very seriously. Just recently, Romapad Maharaj sent me this paper which Burijan Prabhu had presented to the GBC some years back. It was on what Srila Prabhupada's concept of becoming, how you become Krishna consciousness, quote unquote, automatically. And the thrust of that was that automatically doesn't mean that you just go to sleep and one day you wake up and automatically you're a pure devotee. This automatically means you really follow the process, you struggle. You know, in these two fingers that the rope is short by, one is Krishna's mercy and the other one is the great endeavor of the devotee to serve Krishna, which is on one side preaching and spreading Krishna consciousness, and on the other is entering into the chanting of the holy name, studying Srila Prabhupada's books, as Prabhupada said, from all angles of vision, very, very deeply, so that we understand it like described that Jiva Goswami, there's a shloka, it's actually a pranam mantra, that just like you have an amalaki, fruit, little round fruit you hold in the palm of your hand. It says Jiva Goswami had Srimad Bhagavatam like you hold amalaki fruit in your hand, it's like in the palm of your hand. He knew every verse, he knew all the context, he knew everything, that how everything flowed together. And Prabhupada also said, you should know the Bhagavad Gita like the Christians know the Bible. You've ever seen some of these born-again Christian preachers, and I've seen some of these people preach, they really know their stuff. What they get out of it is something else, but they really, and they just go on and on and on and on and on. So yes, and Prabhupada didn't want us just to memorize it, he wanted us to actually understand. So yes, we should boil the milk of our own Krishna consciousness. Anything else, Maharaj? Thank you very much. Maharajas.
Thank you, Maharaj, for this wonderful lecture.
Speak in the microphone. Speak in it. Just speak loudly in it.
Hare Krishna. My question is, actually you talked about a lot of inconceivable potencies of Lord. So we generally found in India, generally, that whenever we talk about these inconceivable potencies of Lord, for example, when we talk that how Krishna arranged, how Krishna make Pandavas win in Mahabharata war. So generally people say that, oh, after all he is God. So I mean to say that how these inconceivable potencies of Krishna give us impetus to serve him, Or in other words, for example, in Govardhan Leela, we see that Indra was bewildered by seeing Krishna as a childhood boy. So, but what happened after that? I mean, what exactly was his confusion?
It helps us serve Krishna because we understand how great Krishna is. Yomam ajam anadim cha veti loka maha ishvara. So when you understand Krishna's greatness, then you become inspired to serve him. And this vision of his inconceivable potencies and his manifesting contradictory characteristics and activities at the same time, it just gives us a better picture of how great Krishna is. And the more that we appreciate Krishna's greatness, then the more we become inclined to serve him. Because then we realize that we can't compete. We can't become masters. Only Krishna is the only master. Ekala Ishvara Krishna. Even Lord Balaram doesn't try to compete. All right, let's stop there. And thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.